Welcome back to another episode of Charge Motion. My name is Ghoul. Unfortunately, Saximus was unable to be with us this week, so we're just gonna have me this time. Um, Kicking things off with some news that happened over the last couple of weeks. Um, Notably, we had Chris announced her KOF 15, rounding out Team Orochi with Shermie and Yashiro. Um, Chris is a pretty interesting character. I didn't get much experience with him because I only played KOF 14 and he was not in KOF 14. But looking at him, looks like he has a command grab. He has his dive kick, which I've seen a lot of memes about. So he should be an interesting addition to the cast, to say the least. Um, After that, we have an announcement from Arc System Works saying that there will be a second beta for Guilty Gear Strive. It begins on May 13th through the 16th, and the client will be available for download on May 7th. There's a couple interesting things about this beta, actually. Most notably, the two characters that were absent from the last beta will be playable, that being Anji and Ino. They will be available to be played in this beta, this upcoming one. So it's going to be interesting to see what these characters are going to be able to do once the players get their hands on them, because we haven't seen any gameplay of them apart from what we saw in the trailers. So it should be really interesting. Another notable thing about this new beta is that, from what I read, it's going to include the English dubs of the voice cast, which the previous beta did not. It was in Japanese only. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to choose, or if this will just be, or if it'll be based on region or whatever. I have to assume that there would be some sort of like menu option that lets you choose between the English or the Japanese. Hopefully it's like Street Fighter V's language system, where you can individually change the language of each character. That would be really cool. Because, there are some characters where it's like, oh, I like their English better, or I like their Japanese better, and so you don't have to go all or nothing. I really do like that about SF5. This new beta is also adding a rematch feature, which the previous one did not, to many people's disappointment. ArcSys says that in the ranked tower modes, you will be able to rematch 3 times. Now, they said that you will be able to play 3 games. They didn't say that it was a best of 3 set like it is in Street Fighter. So, because like the way Street Fighter V ranked works, if you haven't played it, is you play a first to 2 set. So if somebody wins 2 in a row, the set ends. That the way they worded it on this announcement made it sound like that is not the case, where you will be able to play 3 full games with someone before you have to find a new match. Which I think is really interesting, because I don't know. I come from Tekken, where you can infinite rematch. You can just keep clicking rematch as long as both players agree in ranked mode. So you can end up getting like 2-3 ranks off of the same player if you guys keep hitting the button. So that's the way that I'm used to things. So being limited, I actually kind of like playing sets in Street Fighter. I think that's the good way to do it, is kind of like just play a first to 2. But we'll see how this goes too, because I don't mind getting 3-0'd. But it should be interesting for sure. I don't think I've actually seen a game where there's actually just a hard cap on the amount of times you can rematch, and it's not tied to some sort of set count. So that should be interesting. Although it did also say that you can rematch either 3 times or until someone's recommended floor changes. So without getting into it, basically you can play 3 games, or the match will end if someone's rank changes. Which I don't really know how I feel about that. I guess it's fine, because that's what people usually do in Tekken anyways. They'll play until their rank changes, but that can take anywhere from 1 to, I don't know, 14 games in Tekken. in the way that the Guilty Gear lobby system works, it just seems like it would be kind of a pain where like you only get to play one game and then your floor changes, but you want to stay on the same floor for example, and you want to keep playing, but the match just ends. That seems like it could be a bit of an annoyance for sure. But we'll see how it goes. And they said that in the unranked areas, in the outside of the tower lobbies, you can rematch infinitely as long as both players agree. So, if you want to meet with your friends and just, play some really long sets, then that's where you'll have to go to do that. Because inside the ranked tower, you can only play a max of 3 games at a time before you have to reconnect. But yeah, that's pretty much the most notably interesting things about the beta. There were some balance changes that they announced on the website. The most notable one that I noticed was that they adjusted the entire roster's 6P or forward punch to function more consistently as an anti-air. They said that the specific changes that they made to each characters were different, because obviously some characters' hitbox adjustments needed to be different than others. So they didn't just slap one change across the whole cast. But they made adjustments to the whole cast to make 6P a more effective and consistent anti-air, which I think is pretty interesting. When I was playing the beta, I always felt like 6P wasn't my go-to anti-air. I always just felt like there were better moves. Like I was playing Soul, so I was like anti-air DPing and like I was doing like crouching heavy slash. So it's like I never felt the desire to use 6P as an anti-air. But maybe it will be the way to go with the way that they're changing it. Who knows? Only time will tell. And as I said, the beta it's available for download on May 7th, and it's available to play on the 13th, and it ends on the 16th. So we'll have 3 days of this new version of the game with the new characters to try out. And then the game comes out in June. So about a month or so after this second beta, we'll have the game, hopefully. Fingers crossed that it doesn't get delayed again. But I don't think they'll delay it again this close to launch. I feel like we would have heard something at least by now if the game is getting delayed. I don't know. Maybe some results from the beta will change that. We'll see. Lastly, the big piece of news that I really want to talk about is WePlay. Now, we haven't talked about it that much on the show, apart from, these events are happening. And they were the first bits of offline that we got since the pandemic started, or high level offline anyway. The production value was huge. The prize pool was awesome. The matches were really cool. Like I said, the production value was awesome. There was, professional commentators, and, the biggest thing was offline games, right? That's what everyone that was watching wanted to see, and that's what we got. What we didn't really pay much attention to, or at least I didn't personally until afterwards when I heard about it, is where that money was coming from. WePlay, the day prior to the first event, which was Mortal Kombat 11, announced that they were partnering with a company called 1xBet. Now, I only have relatively surface level knowledge of this whole situation. I just wanted to present it to you guys so that you can go and, if you're interested, dig deeper. But from what I understand, 1xBet is a company, I believe based in Russia, that makes their money off of supposedly illegal gambling. It's a gambling site that hosts your bets for all sorts of unsavory gambling communities, I guess is the word. I don't know, I couldn't find a better word. I've read that they've hosted bets for chicken fights and other sorts of, illegal activity. And WePlay was taking money from them. It's unfortunate because their budget was huge, so the production value was really good. But it's really important for us as members of the FGC to think about where our money is coming from. Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm very pro esports. I like the idea of, sponsors and developers support and large sponsored tournaments, invitationals and that sort of thing. I'm of the camp that believes that invitationals and open brackets can and should coexist. I think there's room for both of them in the FGC, and I think they're both very important pieces of how the games are presented. But this type of partnership with a less than reputable company is not where we want our money to be coming from. And the devs of the games that were featured at WePlay seem to have taken notice. As of this recording, I have read statements from NetherRealm Studios and from Bandai Namco saying that they will no longer support their games at WePlay events. So basically, they are not going to allow WePlay to host events for Mortal Kombat, Tekken, and I presume also Soul Calibur, because Namco. Which, on the one end, it's a shame, because especially Soul Calibur, that was like one of the biggest events that the Soul Calibur community has had in a long, long time. But, we don't want to be attached to dirty money. That's the bottom line, is we don't want the FGC to be the place where people can go and launder their money. We don't want that. And the people that make the games don't want that. And so I am totally respect and I'm on board with the decisions from the developers to pull their games from WePlay events. As of right now, I haven't read anything from Capcom. But who knows? That could change. WePlay released a statement. They didn't say anything about their partnership with 1xBet. They released a statement saying that, we're disappointed that this happened and we're not really sure why. That's basically the general gist of what it is. It's like, we're not really sure why this is happening. We're going to continue to do the best we can to create cool events. Yada yada. Which is nice. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. But when they can't host any games anymore, what are they going to do? So they haven't made any statements about their partnership with 1xBet. And I think they should, if they want to continue to host events in the fighting game community. But only time will tell what the powers that be will do. It's a hard decision, right? Because on the one hand, money is money, and money is necessary to host good events. But on the other hand, dirty money is dirty, and we don't want to be associated with it. So right now, I think it's a net positive that the big name devs are pulling their games away from WePlay. But I'm also of the belief that if WePlay decides that they want to come around and clean up their act and be a legitimate organizer, and they publicly denounce the shady people that they've been partnered with, and they promise to stop their cringy mismanaging of the game IPs, those hologram things that were going on at the WePlay tournaments, where they didn't need to happen, and they should never happen again. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But if WePlay cleans up their act and makes public statements about severing their ties with 1xBet and that they'll do a better job managing the IPs, I wouldn't mind seeing them come back, because I do think they put on a good show. And I think that if they can put on a good show and also be clean about it, then that would be a good thing. So I hope they do. But if they don't, there's always the people that have been with the FGC for a long time. When offline comes back, we're still we're gonna have our combo breakers. We're gonna have Evo. It's under new management, which is good. But I guess it's gonna happen. So time will tell how that goes. But come or go, whatever WePlay decides to do, the FGC has what we need, I think. So I'd like to see us push beyond what we have, but I think that we don't necessarily need WePlay, but they would be good to have if they decided to clean up. So coming off of that, we're going into this week's Clip of the Week segment. This week's clip comes from yours truly, playing Street Fighter V. Now, in this particular clip, I am playing Laura against Zangief. And I begin this clip knocked down in the corner, point blank, against Zangief, which is not a very good spot to be. I have a severe life deficit. Zangief is sitting at about 80%. If I get command grabbed, I die. If I get regular grabbed, I might die. So let's just let the clip rock, and then I'll break it down and explain what's happening. So that went by really fast, but I stole that round. Stole it. Right out of his back pocket. So I'll break it down. There's like 3 different situations in that whole comeback where I could have died, and I just didn't. So we start here with wake up EX elbow. Now, Laura doesn't have an invincible reversal. She doesn't have an EXDP to get out of those situations. What she does have is EX elbow, which has a single hit of armor. So if I EX elbow through an attack, I take white life damage, and it doesn't interrupt. I go through it and I hit them with the elbow, and then I can pick which command grab I want to transition into. Right here, I actually picked the wrong one because I did the one that doesn't switch sides. And I put myself back into the corner, which was mistake number 1. But I didn't end up paying for it. But in hindsight, I really should have done the one that switches. So I took some damage here from Zangief's headbutt, so my health is even low. Knocked out. So in this situation, I didn't have to dash in because of the corner, but with Season 5, they did buff Laura's EX elbow so that after the knockdown on dash in, Laura's +2. So I have a big advantage after I connect with EX elbow. I go for a meaty standing heavy punch, the elbow, which hits him. It didn't counter hit him, so he didn't hit a button on wake up. But he also didn't block. So I'm not sure what he was going for. But I hit him with the meaty standing heavy punch. Cancel into fireball into V-trigger activation. And so I'm gonna play that again here. So standing heavy punch, combo into V-trigger activation, which gives me this combo. This combo that just happened, I drop. Right here, I drop that combo. So after that crouching light punch, I should have done another elbow, or like an EX elbow, and that would have comboed, but I just didn't. I messed up. So I dropped this combo, but I do have plus frames. I think I'm like +2 or something like that after a connected crouching light punch. So instead of being a sane person, I decided to jump in. Which, if Geef anti-airs me here, I'm dead. If I get anti-aired, or if he jumps and does air-to-air SPD, I'm dead. Instead, neither of those things happen, and I think he tried to anti-air late, because I actually counter-hit him if I jump in. And then I get I take a light confirm, which is not what I should have done. I do the crouching light kick, crouching light punch, elbow, which is the least amount of damage I could have gotten off of this jump in. I could have done something way better. But I take it, because we take those. The elbow hits, I'm +2. And I'm not sure what happened, but he just didn't block again. That's what it was. I did a crouching medium punch after the combo, because the combo ended after the elbow. Right here, the combo's over. That's it. That's the last hit. So I do. My video player would not lag. I do a crouching medium punch into another fireball combo into the stun. So there were 3 situations during that comeback where I either messed up big time, or I rolled the dice on a huge risk that could have just killed me. And none of those situations ended my life, which is incredible. And I was able to steal that round, and it was stolen. Absolutely. So we're going to play it one more time. EX elbow. Standing heavy punch. Combo. Trigger activation. Combo. Drop combo. Jump in. Bad combo. Frame trap. Next. What's weird to me is that I didn't counter hit him. So he wasn't pressing buttons. He just got hit. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but normally in that situation, I'm expecting people to like try to mash out or, you know, something, or try to block in like V reversal or something, but that just didn't happen. He just got hit. He just wasn't blocking. Maybe he was trying to like jump out or something and just didn't time it correctly or something. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know how I survived this round, but I did. And that gives us this week clip of the week. If you want your clips to be on this show so that I don't have to submit my own clips and talk about myself a lot. If you want your clips to be on the show, you can submit them to us by tweeting them to us at ChargeMotion on Twitter, or you can join our Discord, which I will leave an invite to in the description of this video, and submit your clips in the Discord in the Clip of the Week channel. And if you do that, your clip will be on this segment, and, you know, we'll talk about it and break it down, and we'll give you compliments, and we'll be really nice to you, and we'll react to your clips. And it doesn't matter what game it is. It doesn't have to be Tekken or Street Fighter or anything like that. It can be any fighting game that you're playing that you do something cool in. And when we get the clip, we will do our best to figure out what's going on. If it's a game that we don't understand, that, you know, that we don't know as much about, we will figure it out and we will react to it, and we will play it on the show for everybody to see how cool you are. So do that. So we're coming off the clip of the week. Once again, if you want your clips to be on this show, you can submit them to us on Twitter at ChargeMotion, tweet them at us, or join the community Discord server and post them into the Clip of the Week channel in there, which the link to the Discord will be in the description of this video. Lastly, to close out the show, I want to talk about something that's been popping up in my conversations with some people in the fighting game community. Your opponent doesn't owe you anything. They do not owe you... I mean, I can't think of a better way to say this. They don't owe you respect. And by respect, I don't mean respect as a person, because obviously you should respect the people around you. But they don't... Your opponent's job isn't to play a certain way to make you feel good. Your opponent's job in a fighting game is to beat you. And your job is to beat them. And so, I don't know, I come across a lot of people, and it's usually newer players that have this feeling that you're supposed to play a certain way in fighting games, that there's some sort of code of honor, that they use that word a lot, honor, when it comes to fighting games. And they usually use this argument when they're discrediting zoners or grapplers or rushdown characters or really anything that beats them. And it's really hard to justify because, like, okay, let me use an example from my real life. A long time ago, I'm not going to name any names. I'm not going to say where, and I'm not going to say when. A long time ago, I was at a local. I wasn't hosting the local, but I was at the local, and I offered to help Tio. I was helping to run the Mortal Kombat tournament that was going on. It wasn't huge. I think there was like 8, maybe 10 players. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll help run the bracket. I'm not playing in it, so it'll be easier for me to help run it. And, you know, I run the bracket, everything's going smoothly, whatever. We get to grand finals. And player A wins grand finals from winner's side. I watched a little bit of the set, but I really was mostly just playing casuals, waiting for people to report results to me. I'm not that invested in Mortal Kombat. So I wasn't really paying a huge amount of attention to the match. But player B, the player who lost, came to me after the set and insisted that I disqualify the winner and give him the win. Naturally, me, being incredibly confused about this, asked why. You know, why should he be disqualified? You know, he wasn't late to his match. He was there on time. He, as far as I'm aware, didn't cheat in any way. I mean, we're offline, so it's kind of hard to cheat. And, you know, there wasn't any fighting. There wasn't any, you know, obscene language. There wasn't anything to me as you know, a part-time TO that warrants a disqualification. The answer that I got from player B in return was that player A should be disqualified because he, quote, threw me too many times. And so that got me thinking. Of course, I had to have the conversation with this person that I cannot disqualify people for using mechanics that are in the game. That's not how that works. I can't do that. But I sorry, I just laugh thinking about it. I cannot disqualify people for using the mechanics that are in the game. I can't. Unless it is an incredibly overpowered exploit. Like, obviously, sometimes fighting games will ban characters, or they'll ban glitches, or that sort of thing, when the character or glitch is incredibly broken. Like, for instance, Soul Calibur had to ban Valdo for a little while because he could just super you with no meter. That was a thing, and that's a legitimate bannable glitch. But, you know, getting thrown more than 4 times in a row isn't a glitch. It's not an exploit. It's your opponent beating you. And your opponent doesn't have to follow this set of rules that you made up in your mind for how to play the game properly. Right? So if you get thrown too much, that just means you're blocking too much and you need to get better at breaking throws. If you're getting zoned out by, you know, a projectile type character, that just means you need to work on getting in. You need to work on blocking fireballs and jumping over them and dealing with zoning in general. Now, I know NRS games have a history of being really, the zoners being really strong, but that's just the way the game is, right? Like, zoners are strong. You need to learn how to deal with zoning, or if it's that broken to you and you want to win, then pick a zoner, right? Like, that's really, at the end of the day, if you think a character is busted and overpowered and broken and your goal is to win a tournament, you should pick that character. But that's a completely different conversation. The conversation that I'm trying to have is you can't hold your opponent to any amount of standards, right? Because it's not their job to play in a specific way for you. It's their job to beat you, and it's your job to deal with what they're putting on the screen and then beat them. So it's so common to hear, oh, so and so plays so brain dead. They just don't think, they just do stuff, or they do things that shouldn't work. And the question at the end of the day is, but did it work? Um, and I mean, playing smart is one thing, playing dumb is another. But how do I word this? You cannot expect your opponent to play in a way that makes you comfortable. I've said it the same thing a few different times now. I'm just trying to think of like a better way to word it, because there's no code of honor in fighting games. Nobody decided to sit down and write like a handbook of ways that you're allowed to interact with your opponent. If it's in the game and it's not a glitch or a bannable exploit, and in a previous episode, Saximus and I had a conversation about things that we consider bannable or ban worthy. So I'm not going to dive too much into that here. But if it's literally not working the way that the developers intended it, it might get banned. If it shifts the meta in a way to where you can only win by doing it, then it should be banned. Grabs are neither of those things. Taunts are neither of those things. Rushdown is neither of those things, and zoning is neither of those things. Conceptually, anyway. So you can't... When you play a fighting game, you should expect your opponent to annoy you as much as they possibly can, because that's their job, is to make you uncomfortable so that you have a harder time dealing with what they're doing, right? If you get into fighting games expecting everyone to follow this sort of strange code of conduct, and I say strange because it's just bizarre to me, like, it's like, how many fireballs can I throw in a row before I'm considered spamming? Right? Like, how many is acceptable? Because my character, I'm playing Guile in Street Fighter, and his whole game is throwing sonic booms and flash kicking you. He only has 2 specials. So 50% of my character's special moves are fireballs, so I'm going to use them, right? So how many can I do in a row before, I don't know, the spam police come after me? Like, it just doesn't really make sense to me. And no one's ever been able to give me a straight answer on that, by the way. Like, how many times can I grab you in a row before I just kind of have to do something else, I guess? If I can take your whole life bar by just throwing you into the corner over and over and looping you, then yeah, I'm going to do that. Because I'm the type of player that's going to beat you with as little effort as I can possibly put in. So if I can kill you by doing one move over and over again, I'm going to. And that's just the way that I play. And, you can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, if I beat you, I beat you. And if you beat me, you beat me. So, like, you can't expect people to play in a way that makes you happy, I guess is the bottom line here. Is like, people are going to play wild. They're going to do things that don't make sense. They're going to do the same move over and over. They're gonna block so much. I got kicked out of a lobby in Dead or Alive 5 for blocking. I just felt the need to interject with that. Like, I was blocking attacks and got kicked from the lobby because blocking is cheap, I guess. So I guess I just have to let you punch me in the face, I suppose. Okay. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I get it. Some things in fighting games are annoying. Getting zoned out is annoying. Getting grabbed is annoying. Not being able to hit your opponent is annoying. But because it's annoying, you should be working on ways to get around it. You should be dealing with it, not trying to stop your opponent from doing it. Because, well, first of all, if you tell me that you hate getting grabbed, I'm going to grab you. I mean, in Street Fighter, I play a grappler. So I'm just going to command grab you until you're red in the face, because that makes it easier for me to win when I tilt you. And, that dives into the whole mental game of fighting games of like tilting your opponent and using their mental state against them. But that's not a conversation I'm going to have here. Maybe next episode I'll talk about that. But it's just, I don't know. Maybe someone can explain it to me. If you feel this way in the comments, tell me how many fireballs I'm allowed to throw in a row before I get arrested. Just let me know if you know the answer to that. Because I would love to understand that better, like understand that train of thought, because it doesn't make sense to me. And if someone can make it make sense, then that would be awesome. But at the end of the day, I mean, like I said before, it's your opponent's job to beat you, and you can't expect them to want to do anything else. There's no rules in fighting games. Like, when you're in the match and the round is happening, there's no rules within the mechanics of the game. The tournament might place rules, like, certain stages are banned or whatever. But when it comes down to playing the game the way it's intended to be played and within the rules of the tournament, you can't just make stuff up, right? And I can't DQ someone for throwing you. I'm sorry, I can't. And that's just the bottom line. But so that was my soapbox for the day. And with that, we're gonna reach the end of the episode. So if you have any opinions on anything that I might have said, especially the WePlay stuff, because I want to have discussions about that. I want to hear what people think about that. Put it in the comments below. Join the Discord, and you can yell at me in there if you want. But if you yell too much, I'll ban you. And yeah, tell me what you think. And with that, you can follow me on Twitter at xghoul with a 0 because ghoul was taken. And you can follow my co-host Saximus on Twitter at 5aximus because Saximus was taken. And have a good night. And for my friend Saximus, good fight, good night.